Alrighty guys, welcome to my roguelike tier list video. Now, this is a video that I've been wanting to do for months, so I finally decided to just do it. Now, take into consideration that these are 20 roguelikes, I believe. These are the ones that I remember playing, or that I still play even. I don't spend my money just recklessly on 100 roguelikes, right? I really love the genre, but I only spend money where I think it would be wisely invested. And with some of these that wasn't the case, and that's on me. But I'm going to share my opinion now on these roguelikes, right? And feel free to debate my opinion in the comments. You can maybe change my mind on some of these because I have very little time in some of these. But at the end of the day, this is my opinion, so please keep it civilized in the comments, okay? I know I will upset some people. Starting with The Binding of Isaac. And I feel like I'm already going to be upsetting some people here. The Binding of Isaac, I tried it when there was already a bunch of DLC for it. So I was overwhelmed. There were so many items, so many characters. The game barely tells you like what the items do. Like the game tells you nothing, right? It's a very old school roguelike, and that's not a bad thing. I'm just saying, I think I was overwhelmed because of the amount of content that was already there when I tried playing the game. So The Binding of Isaac is C tier for me. I did not enjoy my time with it at all. I think it would benefit if they implemented some more explanation into their game, like, go with the times, basically, right? But hey, it's just my opinion. I didn't have much fun with this game. Next up is Spiritfall. Spiritfall is a new game. It's still in development, right? They have a roadmap going on and everything. I think right now it's a solid B tier. It's nothing special. It does have this combo system which you don't see in other roguelikes, at least to my knowledge. Which is pretty cool. But they have that because they take a lot of inspiration from Brawlhalla, like the multiplayer arena fighting game, right? Uh, they take a lot of inspiration from that with their combat. They also have these spirit masks, which are your usual upgrades in a roguelike, but the art is done really well. I think this game can become definitely A tier, right? Like a top A tier game once it's all finished and done. If they keep going the way they have, at least, right? If they don't screw up in the process. But right now, I think it's just a B tier. It's just a very mid-tier game. If you buy it right now in early access, you'll have fun with this. You'll appreciate the art. But I think you'll get tired of it pretty quickly as it is right now. Next up, we have Brutal Orchestra. Now, I've been playing this game a lot on my channel. Some of you might know this, obviously, if you're watching my channel. I'm having a lot of fun with it. I think it's an S tier game, for sure, like as a roguelike. It's very in-depth, it has really cool art, it has a cool story going, it has nice music, a huge variety of playable characters as well as enemy characters and bosses. I think it's a very, very good game. Now, I can already tell this is an S tier game, even though I've only done like 4 or 5 runs in total. I am gonna put this, however, like at the bottom of my S tier. If we put more up here, I honestly don't know. We're just going down the list, This isn't like, scripted or anything. This is just me going down the list. So I have no clue if I'm gonna add more S tiers, probably. But it's bottom S tier for me right now, right? I just want to say that. Because this game might climb up the high S tier for me, I don't know yet, right? Because I have very little experience with the game. I can just tell that it's S tier worthy. So consider this as the bottom of S tier, for me at least. Can be completely different depending on what you like and what genres you're into, of course, because this is not an action game. This is a very strategic and turn-based game, which I really like as well. So, now, up next we have a Nice Death. I play this game quite a lot actually, right? Both on my channel as well as just, off camera. This game is really fun. I'm gonna put it in A tier. It's not, it's not S tier. It will never be S tier, right? It's a finished game now, a finished product. But you have enough weapons You have enough spells. The thing with the game where it really gets repetitive, which is exactly what you want to avoid in a roguelike, that it gets too repetitive, right? Where it gets too repetitive is with the enemy designs. There are not enough enemy designs, honestly. The maps can get pretty repetitive as well, because you know you have to go down this road that you select, right, to upgrade either your red curses or your green curses type of stuff. If you're someone who just enjoys playing with red curses, for example, you're always gonna go down that road, and you'll have very little variety in enemies and maps, right? So they could have done some things differently. A lot of people will agree with this. But for me, it's still an A tier game. It's a very enjoyable game, really unique art style as well. I love it. Next up, we have Brotato. Uh, Brotato is. See, I'm not gonna be mean and put it in like the trash tier, you know, the D tier. But I'll put it behind Isaac, obviously. Now, I think that Brotato has its players that enjoy playing the game. I can also see why they enjoy playing the game. It's just the game isn't for me. It's too boring. Like you're sitting there not doing much, and the upgrades are weird. You can hold up to 8 weapons. It's a bit much. It's it's a bit over the top. It's just not really enjoyable to me. So that's where I'll put the game. Now next up we have Astral Ascend. This is a tough one. I'm gonna put Astral Ascend at the top of B tier for now, as it is right now, because this is also an early access game that also has a roadmap out. It's miles better than Spiritfall already, okay? So if you're like watching this and you're deciding between either one of the two, go with Astral Ascend, okay? Astral Ascend is a very, very good game already. It's not finished yet, but it is closer to being finished than Spiritfall is. The team behind it is amazing. They push out a lot of a lot of updates. Uh, they communicate. It's a very nice team. It's a very nice game, and if you're into pixel action platformer roguelikes, then this will be the game for you. Now, I think this game will climb up to high A tier as well. I don't think it will ever be an S tier as much as I would like that. But I think when this game is finished, it'll be a high A tier game, and it'll be very popular, I think, when it's finished. Because it's very good. It honestly is. Please give it a chance if you haven't yet. Now, we have Enter the Gungeon. Jeez. I'm gonna put it in S tier. I don't know if I'll put it, in front or behind Brutal Orchestra. Not sure, because Enter the Gungeon is my most played roguelike. Now, that doesn't mean it's my favorite. It's the one I used to play the most. It's one of the first I ever picked up. That's probably also why. It had its final update a few years ago, I believe now. So like, there's nothing new coming to the game and everything like that. It's a bit, it's a bit older. It's a shooter. Uh, so I can't really tell yet, but I did say I will put Brutal Orchestra at the bottom because I don't have nearly enough experience with it yet to like really know where it stands. Enter the Gungeon, very enjoyable if you're into it, right? If you're not into bullet hell shooters, then obviously you won't enjoy the game. But if you're into that or don't mind that genre, then it's a very fun game. It has so much variety, a few different playable characters, like, I don't know, 7 I think, on top of my head. Uh, a lot of weapons to use. Really, like, that's where the game shines, right? It's amazing in that regard, so... But you guys probably know this one, okay? Next up, everyone knows this one. This one is Hades. Now, I'm just gonna slap it in S tier. The opinions on this game differ, although most people agree that it's like their favorite roguelike, blah blah blah, their first roguelike, you name it. It's basically the most popular roguelike at this moment, I think, right? Unless you count like, old school players, but uh, it's very good in basically every regard. There are some things to nitpick about it for sure, but it's just a very good game in every regard that a roguelike should be. And yeah, there's not much else to say about it. It's a really good game. I can't wait for the second one. Uh, yeah, that's about it. Now, Skul the Hero Slayer. This game, the placement of this game hurts me because I'm gonna put it in B tier, right? Now I'm gonna put it at the top of B tier. I might move it to low A. We'll see when the tier list is finished. For now, I'll put it in high B. This hurts because this was one of my first roguelikes as well. I used to really love this game. I thought it was a flawless game, right? Until I like, you know, finished the game multiple times, played with every skull, you know what I mean? There's also the new update, which is honestly pretty lackluster. It just makes the game harder with the Dark Mirror. That's about it. You know, pretty lackluster. They haven't brought out a new skull in ages. I don't know if they ever will bring out a new skull. Um, but this game, yeah, it's very painful to place it there because it has its flaws that I used to not see. And a big flaw of it is that the further you get into the game, the more stuff happens, both with like your abilities as well as enemies appearing and enemies' abilities. You'll come to a point in your run where all you see is explosions and colors, and it's just very confusing, and you'll barely see your skull, you'll barely see your character anymore. Which just, I don't know, it kills it, right? It makes it very annoying to play the later stages. That's a big thing with this game. Very positive about this game is you have a lot of different choices to play, right? You have a lot of different skulls, which are your classes in this game to play as. So if you're into that, give this game a try. I think you'll definitely enjoy it for a while, and then you'll see like same thing that happened to me. Like you'll see it becoming repetitive, to be honest, and just a lot of cluttering going on your screen. But if you want to play around with all the different skulls, this game is for you. It's very fun in that regard. Now this is Blade Assault. I don't know if, you know, people know this game that well. I'd say right now Blade Assault is above Spiritfall, but it's a game I think you'll find becoming boring pretty soon. At least that was how it is for me. There's a few different characters. They all have their own weapon. They all do their own thing. Upgrades aren't bad. It's a very cyberpunk setting. If you're into that stuff, then this game is for you. It's definitely enjoyable for a while, right? But you know, it's in B tier, right? I would say don't put your money into this game if you're not into like cyberpunk action games, right? Like side scroll, pixelated, you name it, right? If you're not into all that stuff, don't buy this game, right? Uh, yeah, you know, it's like only buy Skul if you're into what I just said, and Astral Ascend I would buy when it's like fully done. Same with Spiritfall, right? I wouldn't put your money into that right now unless you really want to experience it in its current state. A tier and S tier, obviously, if you're watching this for recommendations, I would tell you to buy the games I put in A tier and S tier, right? But below that, I wouldn't really recommend you to buy. Only the ones in B tier if you're into the stuff that I basically explained to you that the game is, right? Now, Wizard of Legend. I think Wizard of Legend 2 is going to be amazing. 1, I wasn't the biggest fan of. Now, I'm gonna put it top of C tier actually, because I did have some fun with this game for a little while. It's, I don't know, man. It makes you feel like a wizard, right? It makes you feel like the Avatar almost. You know, you have the different elements that you can control. It's a fun game. It's a fun game. It's just I felt like it was missing a lot. Like, I don't know. I can't quite put my finger on it. It was missing a lot in my opinion. The multiplayer is fun, but for me that doesn't say too much because I'm a solo gamer. I don't do much multiplayer at all. So, but for multiplayer wise, this game would be like probably A tier, right? If you plan to like basically only play this game with your friends, you know, go for it, right? Buy it. It'll be fun. You'll have fun for a while, okay? Now, next up is Ravenswatch. Once again, if you've been watching my channel, this is a game I've been enjoying a lot lately. In its current state, right? Because this is also a game that's in early development. In its current state, it's better than all of these, right? But this game has the potential actually to become S tier. It has the potential to become S tier eventually, if they keep going the way they are, if they don't mess up. It has a lot of different characters, right? With one that just came out like a week ago. It plays a bit like a MOBA where you go around the map, you do objectives, that's how you grow, and you basically prepare yourself to fight the boss at the end of the timer, right? We only have one map currently, the second one coming soon. And the timer on the map is 24 minutes. That's when you have to fight the boss. Now this is a game that you can play with multiplayer, but it doesn't have matchmaking, so only with invites. That's a shame, I think. But I'd put this in A tier probably if you're just planning on playing this with your friends. It's one of those games. If you're playing it solo, right now I'll put it in the top of B. It's a very fun and I think unique roguelike, and you should probably buy it if you're into that. But, you know, it's unfinished right now, so I can't put it any higher, and keep that in mind if you do buy it, right? It gets repetitive pretty quickly right now because there's only one map to play on at the moment. Now, Soulstone Survivors. It's not C tier. It's not C tier. I'll put it in B tier, but the very bottom of B tier. It's basically a Vampire Survivors clone, but in my opinion more fun. Cooler art style, very broken builds you can do with it. It's a very fun but also very repetitive game where you just kind of turn off your brain and kill things, kill a lot of things, right? Yeah, that's basically it. Now, we have Data State. Data State is hard to place, I think, because it's hard to place because I've only done a few runs on it so far. So it's one of those games that I just don't have a lot of, you know, a lot of playtime on at all. But I think this game will climb up to A tier for me, somewhere in A tier, once I figure out how the game exactly works and the characters and all of that, you know, when I get all the characters. I like the game a lot, it's just... It's difficult. It's difficult and there's some weird stuff happening in it, weird enemies, weird items. The jump mechanic is very strange to me. Yeah, right now I'll put it right here, but everyone probably knows this game and you can probably judge for yourself, right? Oh boy. Rogue Legacy 2. Listen. Listen. No, I can explain. I do not enjoy Rogue Legacy 2 at all. Now, it's very mean to put it in D tier, don't worry, I'm not leaving it here, okay? However, I think that the art style in this game is really, really cool and clean. I think that all the different classes in this game is really amazing as well. And if that, like, if that was the game, I'd put it in S tier. I promise you, I'd put it in S tier. This game, however, has stuff that I really, really hate in roguelikes, which is this, like, these unnecessary puzzles that are usually very difficult and kill you, and these this travel mechanic with I don't even know, transportation devices that you use on the map. I don't enjoy it at all. The traps and like the teleportation, it's garbage. It really is garbage. Now I'll still put it like top of C tier because it has some amazing things going for it, obviously. But this game is really ruined by the core gameplay itself, at least to me, because I do not enjoy these stupidly difficult traps and using a teleporter in almost every room you're at to try and get some item and then fail at it, and I don't know. It's not for me. I was expecting to have a lot of fun with it. I was very disappointed when I did buy it and did not have that amount of fun with it. So, but I'll put it here, and I can definitely see why it's an S tier to a lot of people, okay? Don't get upset. It's just not for me. Crab Champions. Crab Champions is a fun game. I think it shines in its multiplayer, which once again I don't really do. It just makes me think that yeah, there's one game I forgot to put up in this list. which is like the game with the it's also a shooter, whatever, multiplayer. Doesn't really matter. I would probably rank it about at the same place as Crab Champions. Uh, it's it's not that great. I'll put it like right here. To me, it's not that great. I think if you play it multiplayer with friends, it's probably a lot more fun than playing it solo. You're a crab. You use guns. It's cool. It's unique. It's you know, it's a fun concept, but it doesn't have much going for it. Yeah. Then we have Sifu. I'd put Sifu in A tier, and I'll explain why. Sifu, when I played it originally, was an S tier game for me. Right, I streamed this game on Twitch every single day, playing it for the first time. I got help from some viewers and stuff like that. It was really fun to figure out the game and to experiment with different moves and different weapons and on different enemy types. Very fun, cool game, right? With the aging process, I love it. It was an S tier game for me. Then, so in Sifu, right, you fight the first boss, you think, damn, this guy's hard, but then you beat him, right? You see his weak spot, you beat him. You move on to the second boss, you're like, this guy's even harder, but you see his weakness eventually, you beat him. Third boss, fourth boss, right? Fourth boss was a big struggle for me, but I beat, I think it's a her, pretty fast. Even though she was harder than the third boss, harder than the second boss, you know what I mean? Like, the bosses become harder, as they should. But then, you get to the final boss, right? The dude that killed your father. You get to him, and he whoops your ass. He absolutely obliterates you, right? And that's what killed the game for me completely. Because it's like, the second boss is harder than the first. The third boss is harder than the second. The fourth boss is harder than the third. But you'll overcome them. You'll see all of their weaknesses. You'll overcome them eventually. With this guy, it was like hitting a brick wall. I could not for the life of me deal any actual threatening damage to this guy. So I was like, what, do I have to grind the game now to like unlock skills to be able to even scratch this guy? That's not fun at all. Why is he like a million times harder than the fourth boss? I'm sorry. While the difficulty gap between the other bosses is reasonable, but not insane. I really hated that about the game. And yeah. It has to be A tier for me. It didn't hit S tier because the final boss is unrealistically difficult. That's it. Dead Cells. One of the first roguelikes I ever played, but I played it before it had all this DLC, I think. So I can't speak on the current state of the game. For me, the game got really repetitive pretty quickly. That might be different now with all the DLC that's out, I don't know. I don't really care, because I don't like it when roguelikes bring out a bunch of DLC that you have to buy, right? When they bring out updates and, you know, free DLC or very low priced DLC, that's nice, that's great. But when they bring out DLC that at the end of the day costs you more than the game itself, that's just a greedy company, and it's unnecessary to do, honestly. It's so unnecessary. But I'll put it here. That's all I can say about it. I only have experience with the old version of the game, let's put it that way. Now, let me sip my coffee real quick. Vampire Survivors. I don't know, man. I think like right here, I think I have to put this game in D tier, to be honest, because I keep moving it backwards and I'm like, every game here is better than this game. Brotato is just not it, right? It's like Vampire Survivors. Vampire Survivors obviously does like everything better. But it's a very stale game, and it's either like you get good at it or you struggle on it, and at the beginning it's all struggling because you need to get good, you need to get the good characters and all of that. It's too much like grinding, too much doing the same thing, playing the same maps. Not enjoyable to me. I can see why it got so popular, but it's not to me. It really isn't. Now this game, you might not recognize, is Warm Snow. It's a Chinese game, I believe. It's an action roguelike. It's... I'll put it here. Bottom of B tier. I don't have much experience with it because translation honestly is a problem. Art style is pretty cool, but not the best. The gameplay itself is... It depends. It's a hit or miss depending on what you're into. For me, I guess it's a miss. But I still think it's a decent game. Yeah, still think it's a decent game. One thing as well why I place it this low, I guess you could say, is because this game is, I believe, 15 gigabytes? 15 gigabytes, bro? Are you okay? I believe Hades and Sifu are the biggest, you know, in terms of gigabytes. The biggest games on here, right? And I believe maybe Sifu's bigger. I'm not sure. I believe Hades is like 20 gigabytes, I think. But then you see a game like this. Like this, yes, I'm saying like this. And it's 15 gigabytes? While something like Brutal Orchestra is like 800 megabytes? And this shit is 15 gigabytes? Are you okay? Anyways. Let's see. Yeah, I think I'm happy with how this list turned out. I don't think I should move anything around right now. Maybe once I have more experience with some of these games, or when some of these games are out of early development, maybe then I'll come back to this list and we can change things around. Please go watch my channel if you want to. There's a lot of roguelike content on there. Thank you so much for watching the video. And yeah, please debate your views of this in the comments. I would love to read what people have to say about this. As long as it's actually, you know, a nice comment, right? A good way of speaking your mind and not some garbage hating, right? Alright, peace guys. See you in the next one.